Hello students, welcome back to the biology class. We have started the 17th chapter, that is breathing in the exchange of gases, and we have understood so far the properties of the respiratory surface, and we have understood that there are various other types of respiratory organ apart from the lungs or the pulmonary system. In the last class we learned that there are problems with the breathing in the air, and in detail we discussed about that how the human respiratory system or lungs are adapted so that dust can easily be removed from the respiratory system so that it does not cause any damage or harmful effect on the respiratory system. We also understood that the problem with the air breathing is that air can be sometimes too much dry, and dry air is not good for the respiratory tract. So we learned that how lungs are adapted to make it moistened. We also understood in the last class that the temperature of the air which we breathe in could be more than or could be less than the normal internal body temperature. So in such situation the air may have a harmful effect on the internal portions of the respiratory system. So we also understood that the human respiratory system is adapted to bring the temperature up to the level of the internal temperature of the human body. We also understood that there are microbes sometimes present in the air we are breathing in, and sometimes they could be harmful microbes. So such microbes are the human respiratory system is adapted to get these microbes in control with the help of the mucus along with the salts present in the mucus as well as the lysozyme are responsible for breaking the wall of the bacteria. We understood in the last class, and we understood that hair act like a filter in the respiratory tract, or you can say in the nasal chamber. We also understood that the breathing in the water also has problem, and the main problem of breathing in the water is that oxygen available in water is less compared to the air. So the breathing has to be faster. So a faster rate of breathing is one of the adaptation of those animals which live in water. We started the human respiratory system in the last class, and we understood that the human respiratory system is divisible into two parts: respiratory tract as well as the respiratory organ. The respiratory organ is a pair of lungs, and the respiratory tract is the pathway through which the air reaches the lungs. And respiratory tract is divisible into two parts. The upper portion of the respiratory tract is from the nostrils up to the larynx, and the lower respiratory tract is from the trachea to the respiratory surface, or what you call as the alveoli. So we started the upper respiratory tract detail in the last class. We understood that the nostrils are situated in the inferior position but at the apex of the nose, and the shape of the nostrils are either ellipsoidal or pyriform, and their dimension we also learned in the last class. And we understood that the nostrils are the place from where breathing starts, and then the air enters into a chamber, into two chambers which are part of nasal cavity. So nasal cavity is divisible into two nasal chambers which are separated from each other with the help of nasal septum. We understood that the nasal cavity is separated from the buccal cavity with the help of the palate. And then each of the nasal chamber is made up of three parts: vestibule, olfactory region, as well as the respiratory region, which is also called as the conditioning region. We understood that there are hair, oil and sweat present which are responsible for providing filtration, and then the upper portion of it is the smallest part we understood, and then the olfactory region is the uppermost region which has the Schneiderian membrane, or the membrane which is responsible for sensing the quality of the air, so smell. Then the respiratory region is the largest portion of the nasal chamber, and it is the middle part, and it has cilia plus ciliated as well as non-ciliated columnar cuboidal pseudostratified epithelium along with the goblet cell. And we understood the main point that there are elevations present in the respiratory as well as the olfactory region of the nasal cavity, which increases the surface area, and those elevated or raised up structures are called as conchae. So there can be a concha in the olfactory region. It may or may not be present, but superior, middle and inferior concha made up of nasal bone, ethmoid bone or maxillae bone are situated in the respiratory region. We also understood that there are two ways of breathing from the mouth and breathing from the nose. And we understood in the last class that breathing through the nose is better because there is filtration with the help of air, there is sterilization with the help of mucus, lysozyme and immunoglobulin or immunoglobulin A or antibodies, as well as conditioning takes place if the breathing occurs with the help of the nasal chamber. We understood in the last class that from nostril the air goes into nasal cavity, and from nasal cavity it comes out with the help of internal nostrils, which are called also as internal nares, also called as choanae. And there are two choanae which are present. They are oval in shape and they connect the nasal cavity to the pharyngeal cavity. So this much we did in the last class.